This is Keith Hellrick from Cops Corrections Videos. If you like my videos, please subscribe. Today I want to ask a question. Why do you want to promote? You know, I think everybody that goes into law enforcement, whether it's behind the wheel of a squad car or whether it's behind a desk in a cell block, decides whether or not to promote at some point in their career. Now, I know a lot of officers who chose to stay correctional officers, ones and twos throughout their career, and there's nothing wrong with that. We need great seasoned correctional officers that simply stay as officers. On the same hand, we also need patrol officers that wish to stay as patrol officers. One of the best patrol officers I know could probably promote to lieutenant on the municipal department tomorrow, but he likes being on the street. He likes being where the action is. He likes what he's doing. So when you promote, you need to ask yourself, why do you want to promote? Are you promoting because it's for more money? Are you promoting because it's for the title? Or are you promoting because you feel you can make a difference being in more of a leadership position? When I promoted to sergeant, I did so because I wanted to be in a position where I had a little more authority over my situation. I wanted to be able to go in and run my own unit and know that it was my unit. When you're an officer, it's your unit, you're running that unit, but ultimately the sergeant is the one that's running the unit. Conversely, when I promoted to lieutenant, I had a couple of reasons for promoting to lieutenant. I worked as a blue shirt for 17 years in the prison system before I promoted to lieutenant. One of my motivations for promoting to lieutenant, believe it or not, was because I saw some of the lieutenants that were in that position who didn't know their ass from their elbow when it came right down to it. I recall one lieutenant I had. Nice guy. He was from Mississippi. I used to always give him a hard time that if I went to his house, he probably had a painting of Velvet Elvis on one wall and Poker Playing Dogs on the other wall next to his Confederate flag. He wore black cowboy boots. He talked with a southern accent, the whole works. Was a nice guy, but whenever you'd call him up, if an inmate was creating a disturbance and needed to be removed from the unit or whatever, he would always ask that inmate first. He would go to the inmate before he went to the staff member, and he would ask that inmate, what did that sergeant do to make you go off like that? What did that officer say to you to cause you to go off like that? You know, whenever that happened, and I knew this individual was going to be on as a supervisor, generally, I would try to call, if there was another lieutenant on, I would try to call them, or I'd try to call a captain, because I didn't want that individual coming down and questioning my motives for calling them down. So when I became a lieutenant, I made the decision that if I got called down by an officer or a sergeant into a unit, the first person I was going to talk to was that sergeant or that officer. And I was going to back them as much as I could. Now, I recall an incident with one sergeant who called me up because he wanted an inmate locked up for creating a disruption in his unit. And I was on the phone with him, and as he told me, Captain Hellwig, I need you to come down here. I've got an inmate. Oh, just a second. And you could tell he cut the phone, and I could hear him yell, shut the F up. I got the captain on the phone. He's coming down here to haul your scrubby ass away. Just shut the F up. Yeah, Captain, he's creating a disturbance. I told you before, shut the F up. Could you come down and talk to him? He needs to be taken out of here. God damn it, you heard me. Shut the F up. I told him, I'll be right down. Well, I went down there, and as usual, I talked to the staff first. I asked him what happened, and he told me the inmate had been disruptive. And I said, all right. I said, I'll address the issue of the inmate being disruptive, but I'm going to be back to talk to you a little bit later. Well, I did take the inmate out of the unit because the disruption he'd created merited it. But I also went back to the unit and I talked to that sergeant and told him that the disruption he created by misusing his authority, by yelling, swearing, and demeaning that inmate was, to me, a greater disruption than that inmate caused. And that if he ever did such a thing as that again, I'd be sure to put him on paper. Needless to say, this sergeant did not like me very much after that and wasn't one of my favorites. But that's sometimes the way the chips fall. Now, moving on past captain. I never wanted to be anything past captain. The next step was security director. Well, security director, I just didn't want to do it. Now, I've had some good security directors, and I've had some miserable security directors. Unfortunately, my last security director falls into the latter category. I feel he was a security director because he liked the name. He liked having the authority. You know, one of the things I always hated when I worked in corrections was being called boss. I've got some friends from the South, and they said down there, boss stands for big old stupid shit. Well, I didn't like being called a boss. I didn't want to be a boss. I wanted to be a leader. Hopefully I was the majority of the time. There were times when I had to be a boss, but the majority of the times I tried to be a leader. Well, anyways, this security director knew that I worked part-time as a police officer, and he was aware that the chief's position had become open on the department in which I worked. Now, I'd worked on the department for probably 10 or 12 years, and I was offered the position of police chief. And when this security director, who shall remain nameless, called me into his office one day and we were talking, and he mentioned something about that police chief's position, and I told him that I turned it down. And he said, "Why did you turn it down?" I said, "I turned it down because I did not want to be involved in the politics of being a police chief. I like being an officer. I like being in the squad car. I like working on the road. I didn't want to be parked behind a desk, simply doing desk work, and occasionally hitting the road." His response was, "But yeah, you would have been police chief." To me, that said it all. He was in his position merely for the title. And you know what? He's worked his way up. He's now a warden somewhere. And I hope and pray that he's a better warden than he was as a security director. He was a boss, not a leader. I guess the gist of what I'm saying is, before you promote, think of your motivation for promoting. Think of your reasons for promoting. Are you going up higher in the chain of command simply because it's more pay, because it's more authority, because it's a title? Or are you rising in the chain of command because you feel you can make a difference, that you can be a leader? No matter how high you go, always be a leader. Until next time, this is Keith Helwig from Cops Corrections Videos. Stay safe and watch your back.